An Admiral'S arrival revealed a hidden truth: a female SEAL sniper's incredible transformation in a small coastal town. Jane stood behind the counter of the weather-beaten bait shop, her fingers working through the familiar routine of placing worms into styrofoam containers. The salty air tangled in her hair, but it couldn't overshadow the simmering fire in her heart. Every time she caught a glimpse of a rifle in the distance, her blood surged with adrenaline. They called it a man's world, but Jane felt an electrifying spark. She was ready to break those chains. Years of feeling overlooked had molded her into a warrior, even when the world saw only a girl in a bait shop. Her mother, Linda, dreamed of a conventional path for her: school, a nice job, maybe marriage. But Jane's dreams soared alongside fighter jets, sharply diverging from the narrow strips lined by her mother's wishes. "Jane, you should be thinking about settling down," Linda said one evening, the weight of that statement pressing down on Jane like a lead blanket. But then, the town changed. The annual shooting tournament, a traditional display of marksmanship and local pride, was set to storm through. Jane entered, almost anonymously, stepping onto that dusty range with a heart full of determination, fingers itching around the trigger. That day, she felt alive. Her aim was true, her stance strong. When the Admiral stepped in, all eyes gravitated towards him, and then towards her. He noticed the way she fired, with precision and purpose. It was in that moment, under the watchful gaze of a military legend, that her life took a sharp turn. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The Admiral became her unexpected advocate, pushing against the conservative forces of their small community's school board. Jane felt the tide shift. She'd been chosen as a beacon of change, yet the pressure mounted like a storm on the horizon. Every sneer, every whisper of disapproval felt heavier. Could she really blaze this trail? Would they blame her for leaving her mother, for breaking tradition? As she dove headfirst into Navy SEAL training, mornings turned into grueling battles against her own body. With every pull-up, every sprint, she pushed the limits, knowing she had doubters in her corner. But pain became a constant companion. The glimmers of hope traded places with dark clouds. One cool morning, Jane faced a crushing injury that left her unable to train. Alone in a dingy examination room, tears blurred her vision when she thought about what might be slipping away. When she returned home, Linda searched for words but only found bathroom tissue and uneasy silence. And it was in that unease that buried truths surfaced: stories of sacrifice from the past, sacrifices Jane had never known about. It was profound to understand the heavy price her family had paid for her dreams. Through both pain and revelation, Jane began to see the community shift. More people whispered support, not disdain. She couldn't let their hope down now, not now that her mother was finally starting to understand her heart's desires. But as decisions loomed, the question obscured her path. Would she remain a soldier in the ring of societal expectations, or would she wear her ambition like armor, standing taller against each whisper of doubt? The road ahead was tangled, uncertain. Would she rise to meet it, or would she stumble under the weight of her heritage? Jane had become the storm, but the question remained: what was she willing to sacrifice to become the woman she was destined to be? Jane stared out at the ocean, waves crashing relentlessly against the shore, mirroring the turmoil inside her. For every crashing wave, a memory flooded back: her mother's disappointment, the town's whispers, the Admiral's approving nod. Each moment pushed her further, igniting a fire in her belly she couldn't ignore. The injury still throbbed, a constant reminder that her physical form had limitations. But the pain wasn't just physical, it echoed the fear of being trapped. She longed to break free from the invisible chains that threatened to bind her to a life she didn't want. Her dreams were larger than this coastal town. They were horizons away, painted in hues of khaki and green. Are you okay? A familiar voice broke her thoughts. It was Ben, a childhood friend who had seen her transform from the girl in the bait shop to a determined soldier. He studied her face, concern etched deep in his brow. I will be, she replied, her voice a mix of hope and uncertainty. She turned towards him, clutching her battered notebook. It was filled with scribbles of dreams and goals, the map of her future she was still navigating. I'm just trying to figure things out. Ben shifted, kicking at the sand. You're thinking about the training, aren't you? It's tough. But you've got grit, Jane. You'll bounce back. Bounce back? She half laughed, half cried. What if I don't? What if I'm just not cut out for this? Then you try again, Ben said, his voice steady. You always have. You're not just some girl in a bait shop, Jane. You're a warrior. A force of nature. And deep down, everyone knows it. She felt warmth flood her chest, the belief in her resonating in his words. But self-doubt crept back in. What if it's too late? What if I already let everyone down? Late? You're just getting started, Ben insisted. You've changed so much. You've inspired people. You won't let this setback define you. As they talked, memories of supportive faces from her community began to swirl in her mind. Strangers, friends, and even her mother had shifted. They were no longer just spectators judging her aspirations. They were rooting for her. Perhaps she wasn't alone in this battle after all. A plan formed in her mind. She would channel this frustration and worry into her recovery. You know what? I'm not done yet. I might be wounded, but I'm still standing. Ben grinned, the sunlight glinting off his eyes. That's the spirit. Let us draw up a new training plan. Even if it means you do it from your living room for a bit, we'll make it work. Deal, she said, a spark igniting within. As they moved towards the bait shop, an unexpected resolve washed over her. She was ready to fight back, not just for herself but for everyone who dared to dream beyond confines. The days that followed became a whirlwind of determination. She started modifying exercises, collaborating with Ben on her recovery plan, and piecing together a fresh version of the soldier she could be. Each small victory filled her with more confidence. But the biggest challenge still loomed, earning her place in a world designed for men. Even as she created her own path, a shadow of doubt remained, whispering that acceptance from her community was not guaranteed. And amid this whirlwind of growth, her phone buzzed with an unexpected message. It was an invitation to an upcoming event, a military exhibition in a neighboring town. Something stirred deep within her, a mix of trepidation and excitement. Could she show up and face the world again? Was she ready to present her transformation to those who had once doubted her? The exhibition was soon, and she needed to decide. Jane stood still at the crossroads of uncertainty and ambition. What would she choose? As she prepared for this decision, the question lingered in the air. Would she rise to the occasion and claim her place, or would doubt hold her back once more? Jane paced in her small living room, her heart racing like the waves outside. The invitation to the military exhibition lay open on the coffee table, a stark reminder of what was at stake. She could almost hear the assorted voices from the town echoing in her mind, the skeptics, the supporters, and even those who had once laughed at her pursuit. Everyone would be there, from childhood friends to the men she trained with. Maybe this is it, she whispered to herself, the thought igniting a flicker of hope. But then, like a tide pulling back, the doubts returned. What if she faltered? What if they saw her not as a soldier but as the girl from the bait shop? Would anyone really believe in her transformation? Ben entered, interrupting her spiral. Hey, I brought some gear. His arms were loaded with weights and resistance bands. He looked excited, a fresh energy radiating from him. I thought we could do some practice drills. It's going to help clear your head before the exhibition. Jane smiled weakly. Even in her moments of hesitation, Ben's unwavering belief in her shone like a lighthouse cutting through fog. Right. Jitters got the best of me. As they set up, the room transformed into a mini training ground. The familiar sense of hard work and determination filled the air, along with the soft thud of weights against the floor. They started small, focused on agility and balance. The rhythm of her movements began to sync with her heartbeat, each rep bringing her a sense of control she hadn't felt in weeks. "See?" Ben said, watching her intently. "You've got the moves. Just imagine the crowd cheering. They're here to witness your comeback, not to judge you." She almost laughed, picturing the spectators how wrong they'd be if they underestimated her now. The sun streamed through the window, illuminating her goals scribbled on notepaper scattered around. "All right, Jane. Let us step it up a notch," Ben encouraged. As they pushed through drills, Jane felt something change within her. The weight of doubt lightened with every squat and lunge. With Ben's encouragement, she began to visualize herself not as the girl from the bait shop but as a soldier, a sharpshooter with purpose and conviction. After an intense session, they collapsed onto the floor, breathing hard but feeling the high of accomplishment. "You're stronger than you think," Ben said, looking sideways. "You know that, right?" "Yeah, I'm starting to believe it," she replied, wiping sweat from her brow, but doubt lurked beneath her bravado. The day of the exhibition loomed closer, and with it, fears of failure. What if they saw her injury not as a battle scar but as a sign of weakness? The night before the exhibition, she couldn't sleep. The waves outside crashed mercilessly against the shore, a lullaby of chaos. As she tossed and turned, she felt a deep yearning to confront those fears. Maybe she wasn't just battling against others' perceptions but against her own. She pulled out her battered notebook, pages filled with plans, sketches, and aspirations. One phrase caught her eye: "Courage is walking through the fear." In that moment, she knew that this journey wasn't just about proving herself to others. It was about reclaiming her identity and fighting back against the darkness that threatened to consume her. And as dawn broke, illuminating her room, she whispered to the morning light, "I will be there." But even as she resolved to step into the light, an unexpected message pinged her phone. It was from the Admiral. "I need to speak with you before the event." Jane's heart pounded. She felt an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread. What could he want? And how would that conversation change everything she was preparing for? The morning air was thick with tension as Jane waited. She found herself staring at her phone, the message from the Admiral replaying in her mind. It felt like a storm building in the distance, ominous and unpredictable. She took a deep breath and glanced at the clock, willing time to slow down. "Ben!" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. He appeared in the doorway, still in his workout gear, a smudge of dirt on his cheek, clearly fresh from his morning run. "It's the Admiral. He wants to meet with me before the exhibition." What if he doesn't think I'm ready? What if he..." "Hey, slow down," Ben interrupted, crossing the room in 3 quick strides. He placed his hands on her shoulders, grounding her. "You've come so far. This is just one more step. You're stronger than you know." "I feel I don't know," unprepared. What if he sees right through me? What if he thinks I should just stay working at the bait shop? Jane felt the weight of his words, but self-doubt clawed at the back of her mind. "He wouldn't think that," Ben reassured her. "You can't let that fear control you. You're stepping back into your life, into who you were always meant to be: a soldier, a warrior. Just take a deep breath and own it." She nodded, forcing a smile, but her heart was still racing. "Thanks," she mumbled, grateful for his unwavering support. Jane slipped on her jacket and tightened her ponytail. The exhibition was only hours away, but this meeting felt more paramount than that. She paced out of the door with Ben right behind her, the sun a brilliant orb in the sky. The Admiral's office felt formal and imposing, adorned with accolades and plaques that screamed authority. She hesitated at the door but then pushed it open. The Admiral looked up, his face a mask of seriousness, the kind that signaled he meant business. "Jane," he said, motioning for her to sit. "I appreciate you coming on such short notice." "Of course, sir," she replied, the echo of her own voice almost startling. She settled into the chair, wringing her hands together. The Admiral leaned back, studying her carefully. "I want to discuss your future with the program. You've shown incredible determination, but I have concerns." Her heart sank. "Concerns?" "Yes," he said, steepling his fingers. "You've had an admirable transformation, but I've seen many come back from injury only to find they're not as ready as they believe. We need to talk about your limitations. Jane felt hot, as if the air in the room was closing in. I can handle whatever is coming my way, sir. I just need the chance to prove it. Proving it is one thing. Failing to meet expectations is another, the Admiral responded, his gaze piercing. I believe you have potential, but the stakes have never been higher. And I want to risk a mission on someone who isn't ready. Ready for what? Jane almost shouted, frustration bubbling over. The exhibition? I'm there to show what I can do. I've trained for this. Not just the exhibition, Jane, he replied quietly. There are higher stakes ahead, and I'm here to prepare you. She swallowed. What does that mean? The Admiral leaned in, his voice lowering. If I put you out there, you need to be certain. Not just for you, but for the men and women who depend on you. The weight of that statement fell heavily on her shoulders, igniting a fire in her veins. I'm ready. Are you? Memories of her training, the sweat, the tears, filled her with a fierce resolve. But just as quickly doubt crept in. Had she truly prepared enough? As she left the office, her heart felt heavy but alive with purpose. She glanced out the window, where the sky met the ocean, a vast world full of possibilities. In that moment, she recognized the truth within. The battle began long before any mission and started within her own spirit. Stepping outside, she looked toward the horizon, ready yet unsure. What awaited her at the exhibition had now shifted into something greater and more terrifying. And as she readied herself for what was to come, the voice of the Admiral echoed in her mind. Would she be enough? Or would this truly be an end before it even began? Jane took a deep breath, the salty air filling her lungs. She stepped away from the confines of the Admiral's office, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Each step felt heavy with uncertainty. She thought of all the hard work she had put in, early mornings, late nights, and the countless sacrifices made to get back to this point. All of it felt at risk now. Ben stood by her side, his presence a comfort. They began walking towards the exhibition hall, the sun shining brightly above, yet all she could feel was the dark cloud of doubt over her head. You okay? He asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I don't know. It feels like everything is riding on this, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. What if I don't live up to his expectations? Ben stopped and turned to face her. Look, all you need to do is focus on what you've trained for. Don't let his words trip you up. Remember why you started, Jane. You have this. His faith in her was like a buoy in the turbulent sea of her emotions. Yet the Admiral's questions echoed relentlessly in her mind, self-doubt creeping in like an unwelcome visitor. What if she truly wasn't ready? As they approached the entrance to the exhibition hall, the energy of the bustling crowd greeted them. Veterans mingled with new recruits, their laughter mixing with the sounds of equipment clanking. The scent of fried food wafted through the air, tugging at her memories of camaraderie and passion. The entrance loomed ahead, adorned with banners and flags. Jane hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding. She could see the stage being set, the stands being filled, and she shivered with anticipation and dread. What if I don't remember everything? She said, half-jokingly but filled with worry. Then you do what you've always done, adapt, Ben replied, his tone serious. You're a survivor. You're not just some girl from the bait shop. You're a sniper, Jane. You've got skills that most people can only dream of. But what if, she started, but Ben cut her off. No more what ifs. You control this moment. If you start thinking about it now and freeze, then you'll miss your shot. Don't let fear win. His eyes held her gaze, anchoring her with a fierce intensity she needed. Suddenly, the crowd erupted in applause, and Jane instinctively turned to see the Admiral stepping onto the stage, briefcase in hand, looking authoritative. He looked out at the audience with an unwavering expression, and Jane felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The moment had arrived. Let us go, she said, her voice firmer now, igniting a flicker of determination deep inside her. They wound their way through the throng, moving toward a backstage area where the participants were gathering. Each step felt like a pulse, her heartbeat sinking with the anticipation around her. When they reached their destination, Jane's eyes were drawn toward a small group of veterans huddled together, sharing stories and laughter. There was something comforting about their camaraderie, and for a moment she allowed herself to be swept away in it. "Look, it's Jane!" one of the veterans called out with a wide grin. "We've heard a lot about your journey back. You're gonna blow us all away today." A rush of warmth filled her. "Thanks," she managed, feeling less alone in this crowd. The fears she had been harboring momentarily softened. But then, the Admiral's voice broke through the chatter from the stage. "Prepare for an exhibition that promises to redefine limits and push boundaries." Jane's pulse quickened as she realized how high the stakes truly were. The pressure was mounting, but this was the moment she had been chasing. She was here to prove herself not just to the Admiral, but to everyone watching and, most importantly, to herself. As the program unfolded around her, with the audience buzzing with excitement, she felt a shift inside. There was fear, yes, but also resolve. She took a deep breath, the taste of uncertainty still in the air, and thought maybe this was her time to shine, not just as a soldier but as the person she had always been meant to be. And as the door opened for her to make her entrance onto that stage, she braced herself for what came next. Would her truth finally be revealed? Would she find herself not just on the edge but soaring beyond it? Jane stepped through the doorway, the noise of the crowd washing over her like a tidal wave. It felt like every heartbeat reverberated through the floor, not just her own but 1,000 others. She wanted to shrink back, to blend in with the shadows, but instead, she stood a little taller. As she emerged onto the stage, lights blazed down, nearly blinding her momentarily. The applause was thunderous, a roar of approval that echoed off the walls, and she almost lost her footing. Reality hit like a wave as she saw all the faces, their excitement palpable. Among them, she spotted familiar ones: Ben, that reassuring smile shining like a beacon, the veterans with their proud nods, encouraging her from the sidelines. But it was the Admiral's gaze that caught her off guard. It was intent, watching her through narrowed eyes. She took a deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs, and her voice came out stronger than she thought possible. "Thank you. It's an honor to be here today." The nerves faded slightly, washed away by the enthusiastic response. The Admiral stepped forward, commanding attention as he spoke. "Today, what we will witness is more than just an exhibition. It is a testament to resilience, dedication, and the spirit of those who serve." His words hung heavy in the air, igniting something deep inside her. With every passing moment, Jane felt the weight of expectation on her shoulders. But she needed to remember why she was here. The countless hours of drills, the painful sacrifices, all these memories rushed through her. She had fought hard for this moment, and she wasn't about to let it slip away. As the demonstration began, she moved with purpose, shifting through exercises that felt familiar yet daunting. Each precision shot, every measured breath, became a reaffirmation of her skills. She focused on her target, blocking out everything else, the noise of the audience fading. To her surprise, laughter erupted in the stands at a playful interaction among the veterans on stage. Jane glanced momentarily, just enough to catch a glimpse of their camaraderie. It reminded her of days spent bonding over shared experiences, a family forged in combat and trust. Suddenly, she was shaken from her thoughts by the clatter of equipment staging a near disaster. One of the younger recruits stumbled, their gear nearly crashing around them. In that moment, Jane didn't think she acted. Her instincts kicked in, and she flew into action. "Hey! Grab the lens, follow my lead," she shouted, her voice booming over the chaos, her body moving fluidly to assist. Everything that had worried her moments before melted away. This was her world, and she was ready. The adrenaline rushed through her, igniting a fire within. When they finally had everything steady, the audience erupted into applause once more, rattling through the hall. Jane caught her breath, heart racing, but a smile broke through, one of genuine pride. In the shared relief, she felt more connected to everyone around her. Yet, as she glanced at the Admiral, still observing with that fierce intensity, a thought seized her. What would he think? Would he see the same transformation that was blooming in her spirit? Would he finally understand that the girl he had doubted was now a formidable force? The demonstration wound down, and her hands shook slightly. Excitement or nerves? She couldn't tell. This was no longer about proving something to the Admiral, or anyone else. It was about reclaiming her identity, about standing tall as a testament to those who had supported her. As the curtain of the exhibition fell, Jane stood amongst her colleagues, their cheers surrounding her like a warm blanket. Yet the stir beneath her skin told her this was just the beginning. Feeling eyes on her, she turned back to the Admiral, awaiting his reaction. What would he say now? Would she finally feel seen as something more than just a soldier? Would her truth finally shine through? The applause hung in the air like a warm embrace, but Jane couldn't shake the sensation that something greater was looming just beyond the horizon. As the cheers faded, she locked eyes with the Admiral once more, a potent mix of worry and hope dancing in her chest. Was he satisfied? Did he understand the depth of her transformation? One by one, her fellow soldiers began to approach, wrapping her in congratulatory hugs and cheerful slaps on the back. Each one whispered words of encouragement. Ben was the last, his face alight with pride. "You were incredible, Jane. You really took charge out there." For a brief moment, the weight of the world lifted from her shoulders, and laughter bubbled up like champagne. "Thanks, Ben. I couldn't have done it without your support," she replied, but her heart wasn't entirely in it. It kept drawing her gaze back to the Admiral. Then, as if sensing her need for closure, he stepped forward, his presence commanding an immediate hush among the gathered crowd. Jane's breath caught in her throat. Would this be the moment she had yearned for? "Jane," the Admiral began, his voice strong yet measured. "What you displayed today wasn't just skill, it was heart. You led with confidence, and you rallied your team in a crisis." He paused, searching her eyes. "You've shown us that you are no longer just a soldier in the ranks. You've taken your place among the best." A wave of warmth spread through her, and for the first time, she felt the validation she had fought for. But there was still an undercurrent of tension. Beneath his praise lay an unspoken question. Could he overlook what had held her back in the past? "What is important now," he continued, "is that you harness this momentum. There are opportunities ahead. Your skills could be pivotal." His words were like a light piercing through the fog, but with that light came a new set of expectations. What if she wasn't ready? What if she still stumbled? "I appreciate the vote of confidence, Admiral," she managed, her voice steadier than she felt. "But I have to ask, what does that mean for me moving forward?" He regarded her for a moment, then a small smile broke through. "It means you'll be assigned to more advanced operations. You'll be leading special missions, and I want your insights on tactics. This is your chance to shine, Jane." She looked around at the smiling faces of her fellow soldiers, who seemed to absorb every word. Could she really hold that position? Could she be the leader they needed? Before doubt could claim her, Jane squared her shoulders. "I'm ready, Admiral. I won't let you down." With a measure of determination echoing in her soul, Jane found herself surrounded by the warmth of camaraderie, yet she knew the true test was just beginning. This newfound role was a double-edged sword, and the stakes were rising. As the crowd began to disperse and mingled excitement filled the hall, she felt the weight of the Admiral's approval mingling with anticipation for what lay ahead. It was exhilarating, but it also ignited a flicker of fear. Would she be up for the challenge? But just when she thought she could finally breathe easily, a commotion erupted near the back of the hall. Jane turned sharply, her instincts kicking in once again. A moment later, a few young recruits rushed in, their faces pale. "The drill today wasn't just a drill," one of them gasped. "They were testing us on real ground intelligence, and a new threat has emerged." The crowd fell into a tense silence, and Jane's heart raced with both dread and adrenaline. What threat could it be? What would it mean for her and her team? With her mind racing and adrenaline surging, Jane understood they were stepping into uncharted territory. The excitement of the exhibition faded into the background as uncertainty loomed on the horizon. Could she prove herself in this new battle? Could this be where everything truly changed? The hall felt suffocating, the air thick with tension. Jane's heart pounded in her ears as the young recruits, still gasping for breath, continued to explain. The words rolled off their tongues in a rush. "They're coming for us, Jane. Unmanned aircraft, satellite images, they've pinpointed our location." The weight of their revelation took hold, gnawing at her insides. In that synchronized moment, the celebratory atmosphere transformed into something electric, sparking with urgency and fear. Her victory might have felt hollow, but now it felt suddenly crucial. She couldn't let her team down. Not now. "Where is the Admiral?" she demanded, her voice sharper than she had intended. "He's in the command room. They called an emergency meeting," one recruit replied. Jane felt a jolt of determination as she ducked past the clustered crowd. She needed information, clarity. Her future wasn't just about stepping into the Admiral's shoes. It was about protecting everyone around her. The familiar faces of her comrades reminded her of the stakes. It dawned on her, this was not just an exercise in leadership, but a test of loyalty, strength, and resilience. As she entered the command room, the atmosphere was as heavy as a boulder. Maps and digital displays blinked with red markings, indicating potential threats. The Admiral stood at the center of the chaos, a composed island amidst the storm. Yet his brow furrowed, the tension in his jaw revealing the weight of command. "Admiral!" Jane called out, cutting through the voices of her colleagues. "What do we know?" He turned to her, eyes sharp yet grateful. "We've detected hostile movements near our perimeter. The intel suggests they plan a raid, but we have to confirm it." He gestured to the screen, highlighting a series of rapid pixels. "There's no room for mistakes, Jane. We'll be deploying teams to scout the area. I need you to take point on tactical development." A rush of adrenaline surged through her, fierce and invigorating. Finally, she was being trusted with a significant role. But the magnitude of the moment hit her just as hard. "What about the recruits?" she asked, glancing at the young faces looking back at her with pleading eyes. "They'll be scared." "Then it's our job to show them how to channel that fear," he stated firmly. "You need to build them up, prepare them for the unknown." She nodded, her thoughts racing. Commanding was about more than just strategy, it was about instilling courage, making the fearful feel valued. "Let us move quickly," the Admiral urged, clapping his hands together as if to rally the room. "We need any tactical advantages, information on enemy movements, and formations we can use." Jane felt a spark of inspiration. It wasn't just about reconnaissance, she could prepare them to face their fear. She glanced at the recruits, steeling herself with a brave face. "Listen up!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the anxiety that thickened the air. "We're stepping into enemy territory, but that only means we'll show them what we're made of." As she briefed them on their roles, her heart thrummed with purpose. The recruits' anxious expressions began to lift, a shared resolve settling in. If they were to protect each other, they had to trust in themselves and each other. Minutes felt like hours as they prepared for their first mission. Jane knew doubt would try to creep back in, but she pushed it down. This was her moment. Her transformation was not just her own, it was their collective journey. When the team was finally ready to move, a sudden beeping diverted everyone's attention back to the comms unit. The Admiral stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "Jane, get ready," he said, weight in his voice. "It might be time to unveil what we're truly capable of." The team held its breath, every heart synchronizing with the tension of the unknown. Was this the moment Jane had been training for? Would it define her as a leader, or dismantle the courage she had just begun to embrace? And just as the weight of impending action settled in, a voice crackled through the communication unit, sending shivers down Jane's spine. "This is ground command, we have eyes on the target." The words hung in the air like a storm brewing atop a cliff, ready to unleash chaos. Would they be ready when the storm finally broke? The comms unit buzzed with static, the voice like a warning bell echoing in the silence. Jane glanced around as eyes darted toward the screen displaying live feeds from the field. Tension rippled through the room, a blend of fear and anticipation throwing everyone off balance. Ground command, this is Admiral Shaw. Confirm the target S coordinates. The Admiral's voice rang out, authoritative and steady. Jane could feel her heart racing as she focused on the screen. The chaos had been replaced by a heavy stillness. Would they find the strength they needed? In the dim light, the recruits shifted uneasily. Jane stepped forward, trying to pull the focus back to her. We've trained for this moment. We've prepared, every drill, every late-night strategy session. Now it's time to put it all into action. Yet even as she spoke, doubts crept in. What if they weren't ready? What if her belief in them wouldn't be enough? She forced a smile, hoping to ignite some flicker of courage among the anxious faces. One recruit, a young man named Eric, met her gaze. What do we do if they spot us? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She inhaled deeply, recalling the countless hours spent training these recruits. We'll adapt, she replied, her tone firm. If they see us, we stay calm. We've faced worse in practice. We've got each other's backs. The Admiral picked up the conversation, his authority reassuring. Stay sharp. We'll move quickly, and remember your formations. Most importantly, trust one another. That's what makes us a team. As the lights dimmed further, the urgent beeping from the comms unit quickened, indicating incoming data. A map flickered alive on the screen, with blinking dots highlighting enemy placements. Jane's mind raced alongside the fast-paced information. Her transformation from a recruit to a leader was becoming real. Looks like they're closing in. We don't have much time, the Admiral warned. Get ready to deploy. Jane, take charge of your detachment. You'll lead the scouts. Understood, Jane said, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like armor. She gathered the recruits around her. Okay, everyone, we're splitting into teams. Remember, communication is key. Stay aware of your surroundings, and if something goes wrong, I need you to think on your feet. Can you do that? A chorus of yes, ma, I am, filled the room, bolstering her confidence. For a moment, she felt like she was part of something bigger, like they were all woven together in this mission. Go! The Admiral barked, his voice driving them forward. As they rushed to grab their gear, Jane glanced back at the screen one last time. The blinking dots on the map reminded her of a game of cat and mouse. In a flash, she remembered the very first exercise they had done together. They were less than a team then. But now, they were fire-formed, ready to face whatever lay beyond the door. Moments later, they emerged into the night. The chill in the air felt electric, wrapping around them like a shroud. She could hear the rustling leaves and the distant crackle of branches underfoot, laying out the symphony of nature cloaking their movements. Let us move, she commanded, her heart pounding in sync with their quickened steps. As they ventured deeper into the dark terrain, a sudden explosion echoed in the distance, shaking the ground beneath her feet. The recruits flinched, eyes wide with terror, but Jane pushed through, her own fear morphing into determination. Keep moving! Stay focused! She shouted, guiding them like a lighthouse amidst the chaos. But in the midst of her bravery, a thought clawed at her mind. Were they truly prepared for a fight? What unknowns lurked behind those enemy formations? Just as they approached a clearing, the ground ahead shifted ominously. A chilling realization struck her. Wait, did you hear that? The recruits exchanged anxious glances. Could they all trust the instincts that had brought them to this point? And as she turned to look back at her team, shadows loomed in the periphery, dark and unfathomable. What if they weren't just facing a rival mission, but a battle for their very survival? The air crackled with tension as Jane steadied her breath, feeling the weight of her team's eyes on her. They were ready, their hearts pounding like war drums. Silent nods among the recruits exchanged a bond forged in uncertainty, and she felt an unseen thread pulling them tighter together. This was their moment, her moment. Stay sharp! Eyes wide! Jane called, her voice echoing through the night as they scanned the perimeter. The distant echoes of gunfire reminded them they weren't just in a drill anymore. This was real and alive, a beast waiting to be confronted. She could feel the energy pulsing through her team, a mix of fear and determination swirling like a tempest, but it was hers to guide. The terrain ahead unfolded like a map of potential. Unfamiliar shadows flickered at the edges, and Jane squinted against the darkness, her instincts sharpening. We move in pairs, she decided, her mind racing. Communication is paramount. Eric, you're with me. You've got point. Eric nodded, resolute, and the recruits rallied into formation around her. As they pressed forward, Jane's heart surged with adrenaline. Each step brought clarity amidst the chaos. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes startled them. Jane's fingers tightened on her weapon as the adrenaline spiked. Hold! She commanded. Anxiety buzzed around her like angry bees, but she kept her focus steady. It could just be wildlife. Don't shoot unless I say. Maintain your positions. The silence now felt deafening, each second stretching endlessly as they waited. The sounds of nature crept back, an owl's hooting, leaves rustling in the wind, but the tension felt palpable. The recruits exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering in their eyes, and Jane knew she had to bolster their spirits. Remember what we trained for. We face fears worse than this together, she reminded them, her voice solid and unyielding. A piercing cry echoed from the darkness. The moment shattered. Silhouetted figures burst forth, breaking the stillness. It was chaos. Gunshots rang out, scattering debris and filling the air with acrid smoke. Move! Jane shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. She sprang into action, her heart pounding like a war drum, adrenaline surging through her veins. The recruits followed her lead without hesitation, their training taking over as they worked together seamlessly. They took cover as the sound of gunfire erupted around them, instilling a fierce urgency. Jane felt the rush of each moment, how it crystallized into sharp focus. As she peered around the trunk of a nearby tree, her instincts honed in on their target. The enemy was closing in. Eric, flank left with a few recruits. The rest of you, create a diversion, she ordered, trusting the bonds they had built. They all moved with remarkable agility, every breath steadying them through the storm of incoming fire. As chaos unfurled, Jane could feel her pulse throb and sink with the thick air around them. She focused, hands steady on her rifle, trained on an enemy contestant moving through the bushes. Now! She yelled. Every recruit reacted simultaneously. The sound of shots rang, and adrenaline surged through her. She spotted movement, the enemy diverging unexpectedly, scattering like frightened birds. Good shot! Eric cheered, and for the first time amidst the storm, Jane felt a wave of pride wash over her. They were a unit. They were a family. But just then, the commanding voice of the Admiral cut through the air over communications. Jane! Status report. Admiral! She responded sharply. We've engaged but need backup. They're organized. We could use support immediately. Her heart raced as she relayed crucial information, feeling the weight of their survival in that moment. Backup is on the way. Hold your positions. He sounded steadier than ever, a reminder that leadership was not just about individual strength, but the unity forged under pressure, hope ignited in them. They pushed forward, regrouping and moving as one force against the enemy. Jane's breath came quickly, yet every drop of sweat and strain morphed into a fuel that surged within her. This was no longer about just proving herself. It was about the family they had created, about rising to the occasion together. With renewed energy, their tactical movements felt sharper, each shot fired reverberating with purpose. The darkness didn't feel so daunting anymore. They were on the precipice of something immense, perhaps a new era of camaraderie and transformation. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, its rays spilling light over the battlefield, Jane felt clarity arise within her. Together! She shouted, and the battlefield erupted with renewed force. Minutes later, it felt like victory was slowly slipping into their grasp. As the adrenaline began to ebb, Jane glanced back toward her recruits, who were catching their breath and gathering around her with hopeful smiles, admiration lighting their tired faces. Suddenly, the Admiral's voice returned through the comms. Excellent work, team. We're all proud of you. A promotion is in the works for someone today. Jane's resolve pulsed with determination. This battle was more than a test of strength. It was testament to their unity, their shine as soldiers and individuals now fully realized. No longer the girl from the bait shop, she had become so much more. She had become a beacon for others who believed in transformation beyond their limitations. As she stood there, surrounded by a supportive team, she recognized the true heart of their mission. It wasn't just about overcoming fear, it was about belonging. They were ready for what came next, together as a family, a tribe forged in the fires of experience. And with that realization, a profound sense of triumph unfurled within her. It wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. In that moment, Jane knew she'd fight, not just for her dreams but for the futures of all those who dared to embrace transformation just as fiercely as she had. It was time to claim their destiny, and as the sun broke over the horizon, illuminating their path, she knew beyond any shadow of doubt that they were ready to face whatever came next. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on more inspiring stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and keep us going. Comment below your reactions to this epic transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful journey. This is the moment to show your support for what is truly possible. Don't wait not even one more second to share.